Welcome to the Cycle Coach Show.
Empowering conversations on menstrual cycle coaching.
We're your hosts, Claire Baker
and Lauren Olivia Hughes. Everyone, welcome back to the Cycle Coach Show. I'm so excited for this episode because you've got me and you've got Lauren together, finally. Yay, reunited.
When did we last record a podcast episode together?
I think it was probably like 1 year ago. Was it not? It would have been before baby for me.
You're right.
So I think it was probably June.
It was probably the solstice last year, and this is our special biannual, I suppose, solstice episode. And it's the winter solstice for me because I'm currently in Australia, which is one of the reasons why we haven't been recording podcast episodes together, because the time zone from Sydney to Edinburgh is rough, and you're back from maternity leave.
Yeah.
And you're in the summer solstice. So how is it feeling with all that light in your day right now?
It's feeling disorienting. There's been a couple nights this week, I'm embarrassed to say, that it's been like 10 p.m. And then my husband and I are looking at each other being like, we have to put the baby to bed because it's just like daylight outside. And we're just like both ADD, like distracted by, I don't know, whatever we're doing at the time. And then in the morning, just trying to block the light from her so that she doesn't wake up too early because it's just, so sunny and bright. And it's nice to be kind of back in this season. It feels very familiar and also a bit nostalgic because we're approaching her first birthday. So I'm just like, oh.
Yeah, that's right. Because the last time we recorded together, you were just about to go on leave to have Agatha, and now she's about to turn 1, which is amazing. Well done, you.
No.
You've kept a little human alive for nearly an entire year, and you're easing back into some work. What's it been like transitioning back into that part of life again?
It's been very, gentle. I have not done very much just because it's been limited to 1 day a week as Hector and I kind of navigate our plans. Nursery here is astronomically expensive. And so it's just, two self-employed individuals kind of staring at each other being like, what's the plan? But it's been just nice to, step back in with this podcast and have conversations. I recorded 2 already. I'm doing another this afternoon, and it's just nice to feel like I'm back in the world and feel like I'm reconnecting with this part of my life that I enjoy so much outside of motherhood, right? So
it's so good for us to have you back as well, even if it is just 1 day a week, because Lauren supports me in marking our assessments for everybody who's going through certification. So that's really nice, having your eyes on all of the submissions coming through. And then, of course, getting to do the podcast together again has been really fun. And I just bow down in awe of all mothers who are still able to tend to their creative fire and projects in whatever ratio that looks like. And I think you're doing amazingly well. Lauren wrote the most beautiful Substack piece this last week that really moved me to tears as well on postpartum life that I will link in the show notes. So it's awesome to just see reblossoming into some of your other creative dimensions as well.
Yeah, and it's nice when you don't have a lot of time, because then we'll probably get into this theme in this episode, but when you don't have a lot of time, it's almost like that crone menstruation energy of just being like, well, what do I actually want to do? Let's just cut out everything that doesn't matter to me. And so it's been really beautiful to just have space to write and to kind of let that lead me out of the darkness of postpartum to be like, "Okay, like, I don't know where I'm going or how this business will evolve with my capacity, but I've always been a writer first and foremost, so it's just been nice to lean into that and just allow that to be enough for now."
Yeah, amen, sister. It's awesome. I was just thinking we would normally start with a cycle check-in, but neither of us really have a menstrual cycle right now. Funny.
Well, we could just check in and say, like, what phase are we resonating with? Or is there,
Love
like,
that.
yeah, check in with your body and
Love that.
not the day.
Plus, it's a new moon on the day that we're recording this as well.
Mm.
Um,
Mhm.
I would say today, um, and just for context, the reason why I don't have a menstrual cycle at the moment is because I'm going through IVF. So that's why. And it's been really interesting actually, because it's nearly been a full year of various incarnations of like medicated cycles for me. So it's kind of been a year of not really having a natural menstrual cycle, which has been an interesting experiment. And I have to say, I miss the ups and the downs. I really do. I
Mhm.
really do. But it's been okay, and it's been a really great insight, I would say, into what it's like to potentially be postmenopausal or to be postpartum like you are right now and not be menstruating again. And there's been so many times in my career that I've sat across from women who feel a bit lost at sea without their cycle. And so it's been a good experience for me to navigate that actually as well. And I will say the lunar cycle has been a great handrail for me, a framework to lean into. So yeah, on this new moon, I'm feeling really buoyant. I feel like something has shifted in the last few weeks, honestly, even the last few days, just in my energy. And um, it almost feels like a new year. And I suppose it is in a way, being in the winter solstice. It does
Mhm.
really feel almost like the second half of this year. I'm looking at it as if it were the beginning of a year. It's been a bit of a journey for me to adjust to the seasons being flipped since I've been back in Australia, and I'm still figuring out how it looks with
Mhm.
my working rhythm in the year and this and winter being now, because it does feel like a beginning, even though we're in June. But yeah, I'm feeling great. I'm really excited to be here with you and
Mhm.
sharing on the topic today, which we'll get into in just a moment, but we're going to really workshop a lot around marketing and what is holding us all back
Mhm.
from really being seen and being visible and sharing our voices online and our message. But before we
Mhm.
get into that, how would you check in with your cyclic experience today as a postpartum woman?
Mm. Yeah. I mean, it's been interesting because I haven't been actively charting, of course, but, I still definitely do notice there's some sort of cycle happening in my body where I notice it, especially in relation to my partner, where there's weeks where I'm like, "Ooh, couldn't get enough of him," and then other weeks where I'm like, "I think I might murder him. I think I might just like this might just be the end for Hector. I don't know. We'll see." Uh, so it's been interesting, but today with this new moon, interestingly enough, I feel like almost like a cycle day 2 where I'm like
Mhm.
quite tired of my body. Like I've had a very busy weekend with like baby stuff and just very full on. But there's like that calm that I get when I'm bleeding. Like I find at the end of my luteal phase, it's like I'm like itching to rest. And then cycle day 2, I'm usually like on a cloud a little bit. And so that's how I feel.
Mm.
I feel a bit like I'm mentally on a cloud where I'm just like, okay, there's things I have to do today. They'll get done. But like it's just like I'm gonna be just floating through. Um yeah. It's been interesting to not have a cycle for nearly 2 years, I guess, would be in September, would be my 2-year anniversary of no cycle, and I do really miss it because some of my mom friends are getting them back, and that I just feel like a bit of a nerd being like, "Do they feel different?" And they're like, "Yeah." Like, "Tell me more without being creepy. Tell me everything about your period." And, yeah, so I am genuinely excited to, like, get mine back, but we moved last year while I was pregnant, so then the other day I was like, "Where is my cup? Where is like, where are my period
Mm.
underwear?" I'm like, "I know I put them somewhere, like, very special, I'm sure, but I have to go looking for them because I don't think." Yeah. when it finally comes back won't be the time to find them, you know? So
I hear you, I hear you. When we left the UK, I actually, disposed of all of my reusable pads and my cup
Mm,
because, to be honest, they were at the end of their life and they needed
mhm,
replacing. But
mm,
because we've been, trying to get pregnant, I didn't buy any more out of, like, hope and optimism that I wouldn't need them. And I haven't really needed them, although there have been periods over the last year where I have had bleeds, not really periods, but, like, withdrawal bleeds. And I finally got some reusable pads the other day, and it's nice to have some fresh ones, actually, I will
mhm.
say. It is nice.
Yeah. No, I was looking at, like, yeah, getting some new period underwear maybe because I was like, I have a few
Uh-huh.
pairs. They're just like, you could always use more as well, and it's just like, yeah, might be time. Treat myself.
Treat yourself, girlfriend. I love that. I wonder when your blood will return.
I'll let
Hmm.
you know.
Mhm. I'm sure you will.
Claire, it's happening!
I can't wait. So
Mm.
we have got I mean, I asked okay, so I got onto, our Instagram stories the other day on our Cycle Coach School account, and I asked you all, what is holding you back in your marketing? Like, what is stopping you from showing up and being visible online? And you really delivered. Um, I asked the question because honestly, it's something that I'm currently examining within myself. And I often find when there's something that I'm navigating, it turns out everyone else is navigating it. That's sort of how it
Mm,
works. It shows up in client sessions, it shows up in conversations. I love that. We're all collectively thinking about the same stuff, which means that we can all help each other. Because
mm,
if I'm grappling with something, probably you are as well. And that's cool because we can be really honest about it. So I wanted to Lauren and I are going to workshop these questions, these fears and blocks that are holding you back from being visible in your marketing. And because it's the solstice, we're going to tie it into that because this is such a powerful moment in the year to pause, whether it's winter or summer, and to reflect on the last 6 months, to reflect on the last 12 months, and to reorient yourself for the season to come and to think about
mm,
what's ahead and really ground in and celebrate yourself and take some time to re-nourish and recharge whatever it is that you require. And I just think that right now, especially as AI gains whatever it's gaining, as it just continues to like seep into our lives. I know that there is a lot of fear and a lot of questions around how this is going to impact business owners and folks who work in copywriting and marketing and social media.
mm,
And I've got to say that I think the more generic everyone is sounding and smoothed out and perfect, then actually the better chance we have to really be noticed and to
mhm,
stand out if we bring our full selves and our
mhm,
whole messy imperfect selves to it. And that can feel really scary, actually. I think it can be really easy to hide behind AI. So I really want to get into this today. Like, what is it that is really underneath these fears of showing up in our marketing?
mm.
Shall we dive into the first?
Yeah, let's do it.
I've changed names just for privacy's sake, but you'll
Mm.
know it's you when you hear your question. and, I, and I hope that even if you didn't ask this
Mm,
question, that you resonate with what we share today, because, like I said, it's so normal and so common to have fears around um, marketing oneself. Our first question comes from Belinda, and Belinda says, I don't promote my work enough because I fear that it and me is not good enough.
mhm, mhm. Well, I think I don't wanna speak for you, Claire, but we were chatting about it before we hit record, and we were both kind of saying how some of these questions were quite confronting because it's like, "Oh, are you reading my diary?"
Yeah.
A number of times I've, like, felt that way of yeah, just waiting for someone to kind of point and say, "You're not good enough," or
Mm,
"You shouldn't be teaching this," or
mhm,
"You're wrong." And I think it kind of does come to the, like, nature of being online. I was thinking about this the other day with a friend, and it's like the arguments you have online in a comment section, you would never have, like, at a coffee shop, or, like, I think of you, like, teaching at your church, and it's just like, you can have disagreements, and then you're just still at
mm,
the dinner table being like, "Interesting that you think that. Okay,
mhm,
and we're still gonna share a meal."
mhm.
And so it can just feel a bit all or nothing or quite black and white when, yeah, I don't think that there is as much of a spotlight on us as we feel sometimes.
Mm,
I
mm.
think obviously we think about ourselves more than other people think about ourselves. Uh,
Yeah, and it can feel like, yeah, the spotlight and the spotlight can feel so that even just thinking about it, like, gives me, like, a tingly feeling in my body of
mm,
just that overexposure, like, really feeling, like, very vulnerable, very stripped
mhm,
back, and I really think that there is something in all of these questions, honestly, that really ties into, like, safety and nervous system capacity.
mm,
It's often not about the marketing fear itself. It's often much more about, like, how safe do we feel? How overexposed do we feel? And
mm,
can relate to this one, especially around the fear that I'm not it's just this, yeah, this "I'm not good enough" is like a fear around inadequacy, and that the visibility will expose some inadequacy somewhere, and that if I'm
mhm,
too, yeah, the spotlight is too much on me, um, that I'll be judged. And like you say, the spotlight, yeah, it's probably not shining on us as much as we think that it is.
mm,
And I think there's a few questions that we can really get into with this one as well, because it's so common, this, like, fear that what we have to offer and who we are isn't good enough. And I think that the first thing that comes to me is, like, something actually that Alexandra Pope talks about, from Red School in regards to the inner critic, which is like, there's
mm,
probably 5% of truth in what
mm,
the inner critic has to say. And if we can quieten down that voice and all of its drama and its, like, extravagance, then
mhm,
actually there is probably maybe something in there that is worth listening to. And I often think
mm,
about this with imposter syndrome, like, maybe there is a part of your offer that could be refined. Possibly there is a system that could be improved. It's very possible that you have some area of your offering that you could work on. That's really normal
mhm,
to have parts of our business, our product, our offering, our service, what we do that could be a little bit better. Like, if we're really
mhm,
honest, probably there will always be something that could be improved in some
mhm,
way. But that doesn't mean that your work isn't good enough to take it to market, right? Like,
mhm,
that doesn't mean that it's not good enough.
mhm. Yeah, and I think that language of, am I good enough? It's also sometimes in my mind, then you fall into the trap of constantly taking more courses, doing more
Yeah.
certifications, like being like, I need to know everything. And first off, like, that's not possible. Like, you don't have enough capacity to learn everything in the world. But
Uh-huh.
like, what a beautiful opportunity to lead with curiosity and to be like, oh,
Mhm.
maybe I don't know everything, but that's okay. Like, nobody's expecting you to. So you kind of have to remove that pressure from yourself a little bit, I would say, and allowing yourself to get started with what you have. And I mean, in our industry as well, like even like scientists, doctors, and not that they're like, I always see them above us, but it's just like they don't even know all the answers. So like, so what are we trying to do?
Mm.
Like just
Mhm. Mm.
yeah, once again, like stepping off the internet and talking to the average person, saying you're a menstrual cycle coach, they don't know what
Mhm.
that is, and they probably don't even know what the 4 phases are, you know what I mean? So it's like, let's
Absolutely.
take a
I was
breath,
just
catch your
thinking
breath.
that, yeah, how many people around us could really name, like, what the follicular phase is and what the
Mhm,
luteal phase is? I think quite a small percentage, actually. And you're reminding me of your conversation that you had with Nat Day in a recent podcast
Mhm,
episode where I think you both spoke so beautifully and frankly about the fact that we don't have to know everything, and, like,
mhm,
being an expert doesn't mean that you know everything either, and that's totally okay.
mhm,
I I really have a lot of compassion for this question because I myself can really succumb to, like, perfectionistic tendencies, and this won't
mhm,
be a surprise that this isn't the first time the threads of perfectionism come up in these questions either. I think that perfectionism can really hold a lot of us back when it comes
mhm,
to showing up and just
mhm,
letting something be good enough. This is something that my oh my god, my fiance Adam is so good at. It's just like, it's good enough. Like,
yeah,
yep, cool, it's good enough. Like, next, it's good enough. And it's so inspiring for me, and if I'm honest, I find that difficult because I have that
mhm,
same, like, need for control that can
mhm,
often hold me back from just letting something be good enough, and so I think a really great question that I would offer you, Belinda, is, what would good enough actually look like for you, for
mhm,
your offer? I've had to ask this so many times to myself, like, what would good enough actually be? At what point would I feel like, "Yep, this is good enough?" And
mhm,
are we already there?
uh-huh,
Like, is that standard realistic? It's okay to have standards. I have I have high standards for myself and my work, and it's something that I pride myself on. But there's a difference between having standards and needing something to be perfect, because that
mhm,
is impossible. And if we're always aiming for perfection, we're never going to get there, and we're never going to take our product or our
yeah,
service to market. And oh man, it's so tough. I really have a lot of
mhm.
compassion for this one.
I'd also add just I mean, you touched on it, but having that support system, having that community, like, you have your fiancé, like, my husband Hector, I have some, like, trusted friends that, like, I can chat with about business, but it's like even Hector does such a beautiful job of holding me, like, after I do a circle, like, I always I think he knows now, I come out and I'm on such a high, and then, like, 10 minutes later, it's like a crash, and I'm just like, "I don't know if they liked it, like, do you think they" and he's
Mm.
just like, "You just said they're" like, you know what I mean? He's just like, "Wait, wait,
Yeah.
wait, 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 wait." And so it's just like having someone that you can actually, like, discuss these things with, or is it, like, a friend
Mm.
that you're inviting into these group offerings that can, like, just help you, like, ground yourself a little bit to be like, "No, it was amazing." Like, just to build that muscle until you can kind of stand on your own, but I think sometimes as a self-employed person, you're like, "I have to do it all alone," and it's just like, "No, no, 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 that's not how we work best." Like, use your people, um, and just, like, yeah, don't be afraid to lean on others when you're feeling
Yeah.
'cause, yeah, I literally have a necklace that says, "I am enough." It's just, like,
Yes.
constantly being like, so having those
Oh my
people, like,
gosh.
to reflect back to you and
Yes.
remind you of who you are is everything.
I mean, this is something I'm sure you see it as well in the assessment submissions when people are
Mhm.
reflecting on their peer group supervision, just
Mm,
how helpful it is to hear from
mhm,
other coaches and practitioners working in a similar industry to realize, oh, right, okay, everybody else, often struggles with this feeling of not being
mhm,
enough, and tying um, our self-worth as a human to the product that we're offering, which is always going to end up,
mm,
get a bit tangled and a little bit complicated.
mm,
Um, yeah, like worthiness tied to being an expert in something, and we're gonna
mm,
get there's another couple of questions that are coming up that I think really get into this as well, but just how willing are we to let ourselves be in the phase that we're in? Like,
mhm,
are we comparing the current phase of our career, which might be an early stage, where there is actually plenty of room for improvement because that's just the natural order of things? Are you comparing where you are as a beginner coach, possibly, to someone who's had 10 years of
mhm.
experience? Because that's not going to be a fun time if that's.
That's exclusively what I do. Look at this person who is award winning.
Mhm.
Just like it's
And look,
dangerous.
I really wanna celebrate the high standard girlies, like,
Mhm.
let's absolutely strive for
Yeah.
excellence in our work, I'm all
Mhm.
for that. But you're right, having
Mhm.
peers, having someone to give you honest feedback, looking at what could potentially be adjusted and being okay with that, getting better
Mhm.
at receiving constructive
Yeah.
criticism as well, I think has really helped me here and recognizing, yeah, cool, there's some stuff that could be changed. That doesn't mean that the product isn't worthy of going to market. That doesn't mean that it's
Mm-mm.
bad or that I am bad. There's just a bit of room for improvement, but
Yeah.
it's overall pretty good.
And
Like,
nothing is
yeah,
set in stone. The offering that
totally.
you launch right now, next time you launch it, you can tweak it, you can change it. I think sometimes we're like, "It has to be perfect," which is, I know, one of the next questions, so
Yeah, let's
Mhm.
get into the next one. So, Belinda, thanks for asking that great question. I hope that was helpful. Lisa says, I don't have a lot of client experience, so I don't
Mm,
feel confident promoting my coaching. So, this follows on really nicely. So, we're speaking right now to
mhm,
someone who is a recent grad of just starting out in their coaching journey and they're having trouble, yeah, feeling confident promoting what they do because the truth is they haven't done a lot of it.
mhm, mm. Yeah, I think my first thought goes to, I know through the certification process, there is, like, that practice client opportunity, and it's like, sometimes I think, I know for me, I was just like, "And now I'm a professional, so now I have to have, like, a professional offering," and it's like, "But do you? Like, you could,
Mm,
do you want more practice clients?" Or, like, I know for myself, I paired up with a fellow cycle coach, graduate, and we just, like, I think for, like, a full year, we met every week. We just would swap, like, week she would hold me, the next week I would hold her, and it was just, like, it was great business-wise, like, for
mm,
coaching and receiving that support, but also it was great practice to be like, "Okay, like,
mm,
I actually can hold the space," and I think there is that pressure to be like, "I need to know everything, I need to have every answer," and then when you go through the training, I remember listening to one of your sessions that you do with a client, and I'm like, "She really just you do ask great questions, and you do teach, like, at incredible moments." It is, like, awe-inspiring, of course, and then I was still, like, shocked by the amount of silence there was of just holding that container and just, like, having that reminder of, when I'm in a session and someone's just holding space, like, I could talk for a full hour, and, like, that
mm,
feels really good for me. So just, like, having a reminder of, like, like, holding that space, like, that is the job. It's just, like,
yeah.
protecting that boundary, and, like,
Mm,
if you wanna build that muscle, then do, but don't feel like it's like, you're
mm,
having to, like, do a university lecture on this
mm.
topic every
Yeah.
hour because that's not where the magic lives, in my experience, at least. It's in
Yeah,
those,
I
like,
really
unexpected twists of like, "Oh, I didn't think we'd end up here, but how wonderful."
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, and I really hear what you're saying is the importance of practice to build
Mm,
confidence,
mm, yep.
and those moments when you are practicing with someone or you're in one of those early sessions with a client and like you say you have that moment of like, "Oh, okay, like something's happening. I'm getting great insights here
Mm,
or I'm asking a great question or there's silence that leads to an outcome or if it's feeling really good." I think we've got to really drink those in, like drink them in. Research tells us that we know that we pay way more attention to criticism than we do to positive feedback as humans. That's
mm,
just how we're wired. So I think it's really good practice for all of us as practitioners to spend time after a workshop like you've done with Hector, your husband, or after holding a coaching session or in a peer supervision session or with your supervisor to really reflect, or just in your journal after a coaching session, on what went really well. Like,
uh-huh,
what went well and what felt good in your body and what can you celebrate about how you held space? Now, of course, we also
mm,
want to take time to again reflect on the things that we could do differently next time or that we could improve upon and start to get used to like, I think it's like so much of this is nervous system work, isn't it? It's like
yeah,
getting used to like being able to be gently critical of our own work as practitioners and receiving
mm,
that critical feedback without succumbing to like the depths of I'm not good enough, and also getting really good at celebrating our wins and noticing when something goes well. So, yeah, practice
Mhm.
really helps so much for a beginner coach, for all coaches.
Mhm.
And I think we have to shift this belief that we need to have that confidence intact or built before we go out and see clients
Yep.
and practice, when actually it comes through the practicing. So that's, I would
Mhm.
really encourage Lisa here to like just examine that belief that she needs to have the confidence before seeing clients and before marketing
Mhm.
herself. It will come through the talking about what you're doing, which is really all that marketing is, and through talking about it, through having conversations, through seeing clients.
Mhm.
That's how you build confidence.
Yeah. And, like, once again, allowing this whole experience to be cyclical, it doesn't have to be linear. Like, I know for myself, I started out and was like, "I'm gonna do group stuff." And now I'm like, "Well, maybe I wanna do more one-on-one," and then being like,
Mhm.
"Maybe I wanna take on practice clients because 'cause I'm, like, reshifting my focus of the business and, like, that feels vulnerable." And so I'm like, "Maybe I do wanna, like, lower that
Mhm.
pressure of, like, the exchange." And just yeah, just allowing that curiosity and that playfulness show up in your business. I think we can be so serious and so like, "I have to be professional." Has to be like
Yeah.
and yes, we do need to be professional, of course, but allowing a bit of humanness to enter your business and allowing it to be, like, a bit, yeah, experimental at times. I think it's fun.
And I think allowing yourself to be where you are. So
Yes.
have a think about where you are in the season, in the cycle of your coaching journey. So if you are
Mm,
a beginner coach, then you're probably in a spring phase of your career, and that's really exciting. It's like that blossoming emerging energy, and we know can also be very tender time as well, and very vulnerable, and we don't want to like trample all over the beautiful seeds that are like sprouting forth
mhm,
right now by trying to go from 0 to 10.
mhm,
So just as we've learned as cyclic practitioners to pay attention to our cycle and to let the cycle wax and wane? Are we inadvertently like trying to go from 0 to 10 when we graduate from a coaching program and immediately expect ourselves to be, at a 10 in our
mhm,
career when we have to go through the process of blossoming? So can you in your marketing be honest about that? Let
mhm,
yourself be someone who is growing and learning and in the spring phase, and just talk about that. I think rather than pretending to be someone who's at a 10 or who's in the summer or the autumn phase of their
mm,
career, right?
mm,
That's not going to feel good if you're actually in spring, but you're pretending to
mhm,
be in a more mature autumn. I know that when I started out seeing clients, and like Lauren shared, I also did lots of practice swaps with people I had trained with. Um, I was also blogging a lot at the time, and I talked really openly about the fact that I was very new
mm,
to this work, and that helped a lot. That just helped to free
mhm,
up some of the expectations that I worried people might have if I, pretended to be something that I wasn't. It never feels good to pretend to be
mhm,
in a season that we're not in. So that would also be my suggestion
mhm,
for Lisa as well.
mm. Thanks,
All
Lisa.
right. Thanks, Lisa. So good. And I'm sure there's going to be so many people who resonate with that question.
Mhm,
Following along on this theme of not feeling good enough, Anna has brought to the table the fear of being judged or criticized by others for not knowing enough.
mm,
Um, so, again, this imposter syndrome coming through and worrying that, I'm imagining that there might be a fear of like, maybe being in a client session and someone asks you something that you don't have all the answers for, or maybe someone criticizing you online because there's an area of women's health that you don't have all of the data on, as an
mm.
example. What could be some other examples, do you think, Lauren, of like where that fear of being judged or criticized might come up?
Yeah, for me, what I felt in my body was, like, showing up on social media and, like, launching new offerings and, like, that vulnerable season of a launch, or even just, like, posting content that maybe feels new to you, like, a bit more educational, a bit more, like, yeah, I just you're kind of showing up on reels maybe. And it's
Uh-huh.
just there, and it's almost like a two-part for me in my body where there's that fear of like being judged by friends and family who know like a version of me. And so maybe this is like different. And they're like, oh, what is she doing? What's she trying to do?
Mm.
Right before you have that success, there's a lot of like attempts and failures. And then on the flip side, there's your peers. And I
Mm.
went through the first year of cycle coach school. So we talked earlier about not comparing yourself to people who are like further down the path than you. But like in my year, there's just so many like titans of industry in my mind that like incredible women who have like established businesses and who have since exploded in beautiful ways. And then there's me who like, on a different path completely, of course, but like it's just hard not to be like, oh, I wonder what they think of like
Mm.
this attempt or like, you know what I mean? And like, I don't think they're sitting there being like, ah, yes, Lauren, look at her try again. But like, there is just like that feeling of like wanting to be accepted by your peers, wanting to be like seen and celebrated by your friends and family in a season where maybe you're still experimenting, you're still finding what feels good because I know from experience, like the first few years, you are kind of experimenting with like, does this feel good? Like, do I want to like appeal to these people? Like, what? I don't know. Like, it's
Yeah.
hard to feel confident when you're so vulnerable uh, in that season of finding. I don't even want to say niche because, but
Mm.
finding what really like sets your soul on fire.
Yeah.
Um, it can be a lot to take in as one person.
Yeah, I think it's really worth being like naming again, like this nervous system piece and the
Hmm.
belonging that is a really natural, normal human need. Like we all feel that need to belong and to be accepted and to be liked and to be like affirmed. Like these are all really normal things. And so I think we can all have a lot of compassion for I hope that we can have compassion for ourselves in these questions as
Yeah.
well. And I also just really want to celebrate everybody for naming them honestly, because
Hmm.
like I hear every single one of these questions and I get it. I get every
Hmm.
single one. Like I was saying to Lauren as I was going through them earlier, I felt a bit nauseous because I know how all of these feel. And I really know this one. I really know this fear of overexposure or feeling like I need to have all of the answers,
Hmm.
which I think is what is really underneath this fear. So, a couple of things that I can say to this, and I did this literally today because we're currently enrolling for the final intake for certification for folks who want to be certified by the end of the year. So I'm in like launch mode. And something that comes up for me a lot when I'm promoting the training is a fear that people are going to misunderstand what it is that we do. Over the
Mm.
last like 5 or 6 years, 7 years nearly since we've been running Cycle Coach School, there've been a whole
Mhm.
lot of new trainings emerge that didn't exist before. Some of them are very similar to what we do, but not quite exactly what we do. And like there's some that really focus on hormone health, for example.
Mm.
They really get into the
Yeah.
more of the biology and and the hormonal side of things, or even like the fertility side of things, right?
Mhm.
Now, we cover a little bit of that in the training, of course. We get into the like, the 101 of the menstrual cycle and what's actually happening in the female body. But we don't stay there for long. A lot of what we do here at Cycle Coach School is working on more like the psycho-spiritual aspects of it and helping women chart their cycle so that they can integrate it into other dimensions of their life. And it's more about working with the
Mm.
menstrual cycle, I would say, than working on period problems. And I have a fear a lot of the time that people misunderstand me and my work in general, that
Mm.
people are going to accuse me of, I have this fear of being judged if I don't know, um, like endometriosis inside out, for example, or if I don't know like menopause inside out, or if I'm
Mhm.
not an expert on insert
Mm.
female health experience, menarche,
Mm.
right? So I know quite a bit about all of these things, but I don't know everything about all of these things. And so
Mhm.
I find it really helpful to get clear on what it is that I do. Like,
Mhm.
who is this for, this product and this offering? What do I help them with? Like, what
Mm,
does this training transform in them and enable them to do? What does my work inspire, educate, empower, embody women to go out and do in the world? And what is it not about as well? And I actually think that that
mm,
clarity can help so much, because if we have a fear that we have to, if we have a belief that we have to know everything about
mhm,
everything when it comes to the female body, like, there's no one on the planet that could speak to every dimension of the female experience. And so
mhm,
I think being clear on, like, what lane are we swimming in, I think can be really helpful as well with this one.
mm. And I'm curious to know because feel as I feel like you started your business at the very, like, beginning. I mean, obviously, there were people before you, experts before you, but it just feels like you were kind of, like,
Mhm.
welcoming a lot of us into the industry. So how does that feel having to maybe adjust the way you market yourself or, having more exposure, whereas, like, before you could just be like, "I'm a period coach," and now there is
Mm,
so much nuance to even what that phrase could mean.
mm.
How has that
Yeah.
kind of evolved over your career?
Yeah. I think that the trickiest time for me with this fear of being judged and criticized,
Mhm.
and misunderstood. I have a really big fear of being misunderstood in general in my life,
Yeah.
but was publishing my book. I think
Mhm.
when 50 Things You Need to Know About Periods came out, I'm just literally looking at it right now because it's on my desk, and I was like, the tagline for this book, like, whatever you call it, the subtitle, is "Know Your Flow and Live in Sync with Your Cycle." And I was just so adamant that that needed to be on there, because I was just so worried that people would really misunderstand
Mm.
what the book was about, because it had the word, like, periods on it in big letters. Now, the publisher wanted that was a title that they wanted to go with, and for anyone who's
Mhm.
published in traditional publishing, like, there's some choices you get to make and there's plenty that you don't, and that was one that they went with. And I just remember being like, "I need to have on there, like, know your flow and live in sync with your cycle," because that, to me, felt like it communicated more of what my work is actually about. And
Mm.
I found that really tough, because I did get a lot of exposure when that book came out. I think, like, my yeah, the amount of eyes on my work, like, doubled, tripled in a very short space of time.
Mm.
And it's true that there were a lot of people who came to me, into my universe, who didn't want what I was actually selling. Like, they wanted something
Mm.
else. They and that's okay. Like, I
Mhm.
think that was tricky for me at that time, because I did have this fear of, like, "Oh god, I've gotta now somehow, like, be someone I'm not and have answers to things that I don't have answers to because I'm not a doctor."
Mhm.
Um, but again, like, like, it's just this constant process, I think, of refining, "Okay, well, then who am I for? What
Mhm.
is it that I do?"
Mm.
And oh my god, it's tough. It's tough, but it's
Mhm.
so necessary in
Mhm.
business to keep refining and checking in with ourselves too. Like, does that still feel relevant? Does that
Mhm.
title, yeah, period coach, does that still feel good? Does that still really communicate what I do? And it's such an evolution, this one.
Mhm. Our next question is from Clara, and she wrote, "Worried that if I get too busy, I won't be able to handle it and will let people down or burn out."
Mm. Oh my god, I know this one. Wow. This feels personal.
Claire, are you Clara?
It might appear so. I promise I'm not. No, oh my god, I know this one so well. Yeah. I think that as a highly sensitive person, and as a woman who has high standards for myself and for the
Mm.
work that I deliver. And I'm pretty at peace with both of those things. I think by, I'm nearly 40, like, I've figured out that's that's just who I am now. Like, that's not gonna change. I'm always gonna
Mhm.
be highly sensitive. I'm always gonna have high standards for myself. Therefore, I'm always, I think, gonna really resonate with this fear, this block that I'm gonna get too busy, I'm going to be too successful. Success isn't going to feel safe. I'm not going to be able to handle it. I'm going to let people
Mhm.
down. People are going to be upset, or I'm going to burn out. Like
Mhm.
more is too much,
Mhm.
and success feels less safe, and actually more difficult in a way than failure.
Mm.
Um, Oh, this is such a sneaky one. And for
Mhm.
me, it's really, yeah, for me, it's really about being honest with myself about my capacity. Like, what is my true capacity right now? What season of life am I in? Is it a season of consolidating, refining, going a little quieter, keeping things a bit more streamlined? That's okay. That's normal. That
Mhm.
happens. Or is it a season of expanding, growing, scaling, reaching more people, being more seen and being more visible? And again, to come back to the seasonal analogy, I think that it can really help us here to just be honest about what season of life am I in, and therefore what season of my business am I in. However, this protective this block can feel like you're really protecting yourself, and for a while it might be protecting you. It probably has been protecting you. You might have, like, gone into this mode after an especially stressful or intense phase of life. That's
Mhm.
that's me, definitely. At some point, though, it stops being protective. At some point, that voice that's like, "Stay small, stay small, stay small," can actually be really holding us back and
Mhm.
and and actually causing more problems. Like, a question that I would have, that I ask myself is, what evidence do you actually have that growth will automatically lead to burnout? Like, is there any
Mm.
evidence for this belief? Because that's really what's underneath this, is that getting bigger and growing and being seen is going to lead to burnout. Do you have evidence for
Mhm.
this? And just being with that, talking that through with someone, figuring out what season you are actually in right now, because the truth is you might not have capacity to take on 10 clients right now. It might be 2. And I think being
Yeah.
really honest with ourselves about the capacity is so important. Um, we don't want to overextend ourselves, but like I said, sometimes that protective mechanism can actually be really blocking us, because
Mm.
another question here is like, is staying small actually a proven burnout prevention strategy? Because I know for myself that actually earning more money and having more revenue and
Mhm.
having a growing, thriving, successful business actually creates a lot of ease in my life.
Mhm.
Having very little money and being very stressed about work all the time, often it means I'm still working the same amount of hours as I
Mhm.
would if I was earning more money and reaching more people and having,
Mhm.
a thriving business. So, yeah, I think it's really important for us to get clear on, like, what kind of business are we actually creating? What season are we in? And
Mhm.
what's right for us, won't it's so unique. It's so unique
Mhm.
for us as well. But
Yeah. I
more
love that
doesn't always equal like bad.
No, no, and that's, like, that whole phrase of, like, "Money can't buy you happiness," and it's like, well, yes, it can. It absolutely can. Like, yeah, the people who say that have a lot of money probably, um, but it can, afford you
Mhm.
support, it can afford you I just even think of, like I think of, like, Nat Day during her launches, and she'll, like, go get massages, and she'll, like
Mhm.
she, like, creates those, like, pockets of comfort in her launches. It's like, yeah, you can afford to do that when you, like, have a successful business. That's a great thing.
Mhm.
But I love this perspective of what season are you in? And I think that's a really key question, especially, like, if you are potentially comparing yourself to where other people are. And I think of the podcast episode you recorded with Vienda. And I also think of um, Sonat Dode and Lucia of Ambrosia's Table. The two of them, I don't know if you listen to any of their podcasts, they recorded a podcast together and they're kind of like
Mhm.
holding each other accountable. And so, like, I listen to podcasts all the time when I'm with Agatha, just because it's like nice to have voices
Mhm.
in the room that aren't my own. And I just remember listening to the two of them and then the two of you and being like, okay, yeah, I'm going to get my business going. I'm going to do this stuff. And I was listening to you and Vienda talk about that like business bundle that you were doing in the spring. And I was like, yeah. And then there was a question towards the end where I think it was you who answered it. And you're like, do you have the time to commit to this? And I was like, wow, okay. I was taking the wind out of myself. I was like, let me get my business thriving. And then I was like, hey, yeah, take a breath, Lauren. Okay, got it. It's, it's a bit of like, what is your capacity right now? But I also think it is a bit of like that. We've been talking a lot about the nervous system because when I read that question, I was immediately transported to my previous career, which was in real estate. And the reason I
Mm,
left it was because I was so burnt out. I was just anxious all
mm,
the time. And I did make good money and I missed the money. But then, so there is that like having to retrain my body that like, that was a different business. That was someone else's business that I was working in. And like what you create, it doesn't have to be out of control in that
mm,
way. And if it is like, you know, you can step off like the roller coaster to a certain extent. I mean, we are fortunate to be in a business that like, yes, you got to be professional. You have to like you have to show up. And I think there is a bit of spaciousness. Like I have seen people kind of work into their contracts, like, you know, menstruation clause of like, if I'm
mhm,
bleeding, I might not show up, like, you know, we'll reschedule
mm,
or whatever it might be. And just kind of recognizing that we are trying to build like a new world order through this work. Like that's,
yeah.
I, I think, yeah, the other day you shared some testimonials and it was just, I think I think I wrote it like 5 years ago and I mentioned like the matriarchal revolution and I was like, "Oh, glad to know that I'm still on theme for like my goal of this work." But
Mhm,
it is like meant to be different and that burnout doesn't need to be part of the narrative. And so
yeah.
I need to reprogram my brain, my body. So maybe this is similar work that Clara or Claire, whoever it was, um, has to, we will never know. No, but has to do as well. Of just being like, yeah, what you create doesn't need to be like a Frankenstein's monster situation. It can be
Mm,
so spacious. Like I really love how, you know, I know you take like months off Instagram or take months off your business even.
mm,
And even I was chatting with someone about astrology and human design the other day and she's like, "Yeah, your 12th house month, like I just take it off." And I was like, "Oh, that's so nice to know." Like that's
hmm,
Capricorn season for me. And I was
cool.
like, "That's why I don't like working in that month." She's like, "Don't bother." And I'm like, "Okay." Like, you know, there's just so many like beautiful ways to build a
Mm,
business now that I think we can
mm,
even be creative in that context to like carve out space to avoid that burnout, whether it is, you know, having a massage during your lunch or taking
mm.
a month off. Yeah.
Yeah, there's something in here around self-trust, I think.
Mm, yes.
Like, can we trust ourselves to erect this infrastructure in our businesses and in our year that
Mhm,
is nourishing? Can we
mhm,
trust ourselves that when we're launching that we will book a massage and ensure that we're not answering messages at 10 p.m. and then we're still getting enough sleep? Like, can
mhm,
we trust ourselves to implement the systems that will actually really support us
mhm,
to scale and to reach more people and to have more eyes on us? That doesn't result in us letting people down because we've put in the time to get those systems sorted. So there's a real I think there's a real yeah, there's so much humanness in this energy in this question, sorry. And then I think
mm,
like a real I sense a real opportunity to mature as well. Like there's a maturity here as well. And I think
mm,
if we're thinking seasonally of moving almost like from a spring right through a summer to autumn, it's like, okay, we're putting our grown up like shoes or hat on here and we
mm,
are going to create a business that is really going to support ourselves as much as it's supporting other people so that it can blossom and grow into like the summer of our business. But there's a real maturity as well and refinement because guess what? It's
mm,
going to mean saying no to a lot of stuff. Like you're going to get to say yes to some clients and to some opportunities. There's going to be a lot of things that you say no to as well if you
mm,
want to do this without burning yourself out. So practicing the your yes and then practicing your no. It's like flexing that
yeah,
summer and that autumn
yeah.
qualities. So
And I
love
think
that question.
yeah, and I think it's just reminding yourself too that like a lot of us arrived at burnout because we were acting like we were in that summer phase all the time, like a very
Yep.
masculine, like toxic masculine of like showing up all the time in that summery phase. And it's just like, that's not who we are. So just a reminder that like you
Yeah.
can refine
Yeah.
as much as you need.
Yeah, like your business gets to have seasons.
Mhm. Mm,
Your
yeah.
business gets to have seasons.
Thank you, Clara.
All right. Thanks, Clara. Eliza says, oh, this is a good one. I hate feeling cringy. I think too much about what people think of me. Lauren, talk to me
Mm.
about cringe.
I
Do you
mean,
get this?
cringe to who, first off? I'm trying to think. I feel like I I don't know if I feel cringy, but I
Mhm.
also grew up kind of pre-social media. So, like, I'm of the era that we, like, would go out and then post a whole Facebook album of the night out, like, with, like, a title, and there'd be, like, bathroom floor pictures and just, like, so, like, I think it's, like, kind of
Totally.
built into, like, the marrow of my bones at this point. Like,
You're a true millennial.
we weren't
Mm.
cool online.
Mm.
There's
Oh,
no
yeah.
cool.
Mm.
So now it's like I feel a bit cringe if I'm trying to be too polished or like, sometimes there's trends on reels and stuff and I'm like, I can't contribute to that. Like I understand the mentality behind like, hopping on a trend because then there's like more people to see you and all that stuff. But I'm just like, I just have to be myself. And yeah, I think like I would feel cringe trying to like mimic someone else's
Mm.
energy. I think is like that's been a big lesson for me and like we don't need to get into human design today, but just like noticing that my energy is different than someone else's. Like I
Mm.
mentioned Lucia earlier, and I feel like I talk about her all the time, but like her launches, like I would be dead after one day. Like you would
Sure.
not see
Yeah.
me, like because she's just like boom, so a lot, and like that, but that works for her. And then I
Mm.
believe wholeheartedly that she would maintain that energy in any offering of hers. Whereas I'm like, I will show up once a month. It'll be magical, and then you won't
Mhm.
see me again.
Mhm.
I'm just like, I
Mhm.
can't fake that. So for me, that's like my version of cringe is if I'm trying to like we've talked about this earlier in the episode, trying to be someone who I'm not
Yeah.
and trying to like put on a mask and being like, "Hi everyone." Like it feels
Mm.
fake for me. And then when I'm watching other people do it, it doesn't feel fake. Like, yeah, because it feels true to them. Mm.
Mm.
So there is a bit of knowing yourself, I suppose.
Yeah, that's good. I think that's really spot on. Knowing who you are, knowing, and practicing using your voice online in a way that feels natural for you. I think this is something I've definitely been practicing. More, I mean, like you, I feel like I've been on the internet forever, but definitely in the last, I don't know, 5 or so years, just, yeah, not putting on a mask or putting
Mhm.
on a voice or any a kind of energy that is simply just not who I am. I think it's also just getting older and I just don't have I just can't do it anymore. Um,
Mm.
there's something here that's very human, like
Mhm.
underneath this feeling of not wanting to feel cringe is a really normal human desire to be approved of and to belong again, like
Mhm.
really, really normal. I know that I would feel really cringy if I got on social media, for example, and like I just refused to do those pointy dances, when everyone was like pointing at things all the time in
Yeah.
reels. I was just like, that's never gonna happen. No shade on anyone
No.
who did the pointy reels, but like I knew that if I tried to do that, it would feel terrible and I wouldn't feel good to me. So I didn't do that. So, it's okay to
I
have some
just
boundaries
I
as
just love
well.
that you're like, "I could never dance and point," and then meanwhile, you're, like, in your underwear being like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
"Whatever."
Yeah, absolutely. But I can do that. Yeah, right?
I
So
know.
it doesn't even have to make sense.
It's so fabulous. Oh, but
Totally. Yeah, there's some things that I do that I'm sure other people would feel super cringy doing. Even writing, like some of the things that I know that I write about, like
Mhm.
and share, and maybe for you too, for some
Yeah.
people that would feel really cringy. And I guess
Mhm.
that's probably worth, examining what cringe means to you. Like you
Mhm.
said, Lauren, like who cringy according to whom, and also what do you mean by cringe? Because is it embarrassing? Is it
Mhm.
just that it feels not authentic? Is it just a bit edgy? Is it actually just completely like sacred, something that you just don't want to do because it like, there's plenty of things that I don't share online because they're
Mhm.
they're sacred to me and they're not for the internet.
Mhm.
Um yeah.
Well, and then I also wanted to touch on I recorded a podcast. It'll come out in July, so it's actually like we're working kind of backwards, forwards. But I had this conversation with Katie Ewan and Hannah Pern of Reflex East and Don't Tell Me to Relax, but they do so many reels online together. And so that was their kind of suggestion because I'm like, you guys are so incredible online. And so to remove the cringe or just like that embarrassment or that fear of like, huh, is this silly to post? Like, to do it with a friend, then
Yeah,
kind of
that's great.
removes that
I love that.
almost, and I'm like,
Mhm.
I love that idea of just, like, if you can meet someone in person to do, like, a kind of a funny, cheeky reel with, amazing,
Mm.
or at least, like, having, like, a buddy that, like, you can run ideas by so that it just feels like it takes the pressure off almost of being like
Mhm.
I find I just, like, usually use, like, that enchantress energy in my luteal phase of just being like, "Well, who cares?" And just, like, posting and, like,
Yep.
throwing my phone and being like, "Whatever." Like, I'm going for a
Yep.
walk. Like, I'm going out in the real
Mhm.
world. I find that works for me to be like, "Okay, and then I'm gonna go do something real, like, be with a friend. I don't need to be online and being like, is anyone reading it? Is anyone watching it?'"
Smart. That's really smart. Yeah, I think there's something again here around the identity piece that we spoke about earlier
Mhm,
as well,
mhm,
because it can feel so vulnerable and um, very tender to start sharing your message publicly and to be talking about something that you're really passionate about, to be sharing your offerings, to be, talking about the products that you have to share or whatever it is in your marketing. I will say here that, and this is to everyone, myself included, marketing is a huge part of owning a business. And if you want to sell something, you want to invite people to your workshop or to your women's circle or to come and do some coaching with you or take a training or a course or buy your book or whatever it is that you do, whatever your magic is, whatever your creative gift is, your service to the world, you're going to have to market it. Like
mhm,
we all do. And
mhm,
I think for me, recognizing that and understanding that marketing is actually quite a large percentage of what it means to run a business has actually been very freeing for me because I think for some time I held a belief similar to this one that it was somehow below me. That really what my job was to do is
mhm,
to be a great coach, a great practitioner, a great teacher, and a great writer, and that actually marketing was somehow like I was somehow superior and I didn't have to do
mhm,
marketing if I just did my job really well. Now, look,
mhm,
recommendations are great, word of mouth referrals are great, those things are all
mhm,
great. But the reality is that we need to market our work. We need to be talking about it. And unless we're in a position or we have the desire to hire a team of
mhm,
copywriters, photographers, brand strategists, social media managers, the the job's probably falling to us. Like,
mhm,
as self-employed people, we wear so many hats. Like, I wear all the
mhm,
hats basically in my business. Some I don't, but most I do. And owning the fact that some days of the week I am head of marketing, that's my job, has actually
mhm,
been really freeing. And I think then it helps a
mhm,
little bit with that fear of the cringe because it's like, this is my job. This is a part of my job. And another
mhm,
thing that's helped me here is reframing marketing as simply sharing my message. Like
mhm,
my passion and my calling in my career is to share menstrual cycle awareness with the world. That's it. And so I can do that through running cycle coach school. I can do that through client sessions or teaching workshops, but I can also just simply do it through my marketing. And I can think about
Mm.
it as an opportunity for me to share something that I'm really passionate about. And it's part of the work, it's part of the calling. Um, I think those two mindset shifts, the fact that marketing is just a part of running a business and it's quite a large part, and marketing is, it can be you sharing your message, doing, answering your soul's calling, if you want to think about it like that. Um, that's helped me a lot.
Mhm. Yeah, I love that, and I think of some advice I received from a friend because I was chatting about how I get so burnt out marketing myself, and she's like, "How can you ritualize it? How can you make it
Mm,
fun?" And I think even that word of cringe, like, maybe your perfect brand of cringe is actually your calling card because it shows your personality, it shows your whimsy or whatever it is, and it actually will resonate. Like, that's how I meet clients is when
mm,
I'm like uniquely myself and a bit silly and a bit loud and people are like, "I love your energy. I wanna work with you." Like, so if
mhm,
someone's presence online is like not sitting with you, then you probably won't wanna work with them, and that's okay. Amazing. They'll find other people to work with. But then you will find someone who's like goofy like you and you'll be like, "Ah, fun. Let's like work together.
uh-huh.
Let's figure it out," or whatever it is. So just kind of owning that a bit, I think. But I love really like carving out space in your week to wear that hat, I think is brilliant advice.
Our next question is from Phoebe. It's a goodie. I don't want to be on social media. I disagree with it as a way of communicating.
Mm,
What are your thoughts on this?
yeah. I mean, you were Clara, maybe I'm Phoebe. Because I often think of like, I would love to just go back analog, get off my phone and go into the woods and just, yeah, scream into the moss a bit. And I think it's hard because social media has kind of skewed away from the social element at times. So, what's helped me a little bit, two parts. I think part one would be going onto social media and kind of infusing my own social element to like finding what your friends are doing, commenting, like creating those conversations yourself, putting that energy out into the world of being like, I see what you're doing and I'm celebrating that because that's what you want in return, I think, in my mind. Cause
Mm,
that's how I struggle with social media sometimes is I liken it to like screaming into the void a bit where I'm like, is anyone hearing what I'm saying? And then finding what works for you. So for me, like, yeah, I struggle creating reels or, small content. So that's why I've gone back to writing on Substack. And
mm,
like I said, I don't remember if it was before we hit record or not, but coming out of this mat leave, like I have always been a writer. So I'm like writing my way out of that darkness of being like, I don't know what I want my business to look like anymore. Like since having a baby girl, she's like shattered my whole concept of self. So in a beautiful way and kind of refocused my passion on just like menstrual cycle awareness and like the
mm,
periods in the body and so just allowing myself to write and to post that. And if anything, that's connected me more with people because
mm,
that's my gift is the written word. And so putting that out with no purpose necessarily, no like clear like I'm marketing for this has connected me with so many people. And so if anything, like I think sometimes we have to think beyond just like that launch period of that's the purpose for social media. It's like, no,
yeah.
it is to exchange ideas and it like what a beautiful gift that we live in a time where the internet exists and we can like work with more than the five people in our community that want our services. Um so finding just like going to the gym and finding what works for you with physical exercise, what works for you with social media because I think it is unfortunately or fortunately a key element of business today.
Yeah, what you're saying is reminding me of something I shared actually with a current trainee on a supervision call this week. I think there's so many ways to answer this question.
Mhm.
One of the things I can offer is that, yeah, there are different kinds of marketing. like you say, there is like direct marketing where we really are like selling something. And I
Mhm,
think the trap can be to think that that's all we're there on social media to do, is to just be constantly selling and inviting people to experience our magic all the time. And that's a really quick pathway to burning out on social media, I think. If
mhm,
you think that that's what you're there to do all the time, is just always selling. Like in marketing, there's two, well, the way I see it, two different kinds of marketing. There is direct selling, which is really important to
mm,
do, and there's probably going to be periods the year where you are in launch mode, or enrollment periods where you're directly inviting people to
mhm,
join something or sign up, right?
mhm,
And then there's other more like warmer marketing that is more like yeah, building connection, like you say.
mm,
Um, Nurturing relationships, sharing more of, who you are and what it is that you do, being creative, like talking
mm,
about the thing, like I said earlier, sharing your passion for whatever your topic is, your niche, your industry, your client, whatever it is that you love, like bringing that forward in your marketing and in your creative expression. And that actually, I think, is probably like the bulk of what we're doing most of the time.
mhm,
The direct selling periods are really important. It's probably where most of your revenue comes in, but they're more effective when we've been doing the other stuff. Like,
mhm,
if we're just showing up just to sell and then we go quiet and then we're coming back to sell, that doesn't feel that good for me anyway. And it doesn't feel that fun. And then probably not for your community either.
mhm,
So I think it's worth probably thinking about like what do you want to use social media for? If you don't want to be on there, then it's possible that it is actually a values misalignment. Like, I will say, you don't have to be on social media. Plenty of people
mhm,
have successful businesses without being on it. I agree with you that in 2026 and for the foreseeable, probably, yes, social media is going to be a part of, especially having an online business, a
mhm,
big part of that. It can be a great tool, but you also don't have to be on there. So
mhm,
you can give yourself permission to not use it.
mhm,
And I'll speak, in just a moment about what some of those other options might be, or to use it very infrequently. Like Lauren said earlier, I'm very familiar with taking months at a time off socials because I share your concerns. Who was this question from? Phoebe. Phoebe, or is it Lauren? Like, I really share your concerns. I get it, Meg. Like,
mhm,
we don't have to think too deeply to think about all the ways in which social media and the companies who own the platforms that we're using might be out of integrity with our own values. Like, I get it.
mhm,
It's really tough in modern life to make choices that are always values aligned. And it might be for you that social media is not going to be in your wheelhouse, in which case other things to think about include, like we both mentioned, Substack a couple of times. Everyone should have a newsletter. Like, whether you
mhm,
want to use social media or not, get a newsletter going.
mhm,
Um, Podcasting. Think
mhm,
about long form content. YouTube is having a real resurgence right now.
mhm,
Now, nothing's perfect, right? So I think we have
mhm,
to pick, like, well, which platforms do we feel more aligned with? Where do our creative gifts shine, and how can we use those creative gifts to reach the people that we want to work with, and where are they hanging out, where are they spending time? So yeah, again, I have a lot of compassion for this question and I get it. um you don't have to be on it, really,
mhm,
you don't. And I think for me, I know that I put most of my creative effort into my long form content, whether that's this podcast here with Lauren and our guests, whether that's on my Substack or sending my newsletter. And then everything that goes onto socials is like overflow from that. So it might be a reel from a podcast episode, or it's a caption that comes from a newsletter, or it's a carousel that I've created from an essay. So
mhm,
I ensure that I'm not pouring all of my creative energy into social media, because that's one of the gripes I have with it, is that it's a
mhm,
total sucker. It's a total
mhm,
vortex. So I know that everything that is published on social media, 90% of it is actually coming from a creative, like a more long form creative output that has more like longevity somewhere else.
mhm. Yeah, and I love that idea of basically just, like, pulling snippets from something that brings you joy. So if you love writing, like,
Mhm.
then just creating small content from that versus like staring at Instagram being like, "What now?" Like, do what you love first. I even,
Yeah.
like, have made, you know, physical collages, and then you just photograph that, and
Mm.
people are like, "Oh, look how whimsical you are." And you're like, "Thank you." But it's just, like, simple, like, I it's real
Yes.
life, and, like, I think people like we said, there's that difference between direct selling and indirect selling. So I think you can have more fun in that indirect phase of just sharing your life, sharing
Yeah.
what you like, even if it isn't menstrual cycle awareness specific. That's what people resonate with. That's what people like makes people want to buy from you specifically are the like nuances to your personality of just like what you love. Yeah.
At the risk of being a bit of a challenger,
Oh.
um, because I got this question on social media and I know that this person is therefore using social media and no shade. Like I asked the question on social media. I get it.
Mhm.
I get the tension, of values here. I do want to say, is this resistance to marketing and is this a real, like, fear of being seen that is being disguised as, like, having principles around social media?
Mm.
I'm just gonna put that out there
Mm.
and sit with it because
Yeah.
I can be honest and say that for me, I know that that sometimes comes up. It feels really
Mhm.
good to be off social media for months and months and months and not having to market anything. And that, again, like that protective mechanism can be useful for a little while. And I know that for me, it can really lead into actually, I feel like I'm hiding a bit.
Mhm.
But I'm saying, well, again, I have this like, you know, I don't need to use that.
Yeah.
And
Or is it?
that's not actually in service to me or my work at all.
And once again, to connect to that theme of community, is it something that you need help with? And can you ask someone
Totally.
for help? Because
Yeah.
I know I've been meaning to text you, Claire, for a long time to ask, how do you make the little quotes on Substack that you share in the feed? Because I don't know how to do that. You
I'll
know,
make you a
moments like
little
that where you're like,
tutorial.
thank you.
Mhm.
But just
You're
like,
welcome.
yeah, maybe do you just need help? And do you want to just like
Yeah.
have a friend come over and make some reels with you? Just be
I love
silly.
that. I love that idea of doing it with somebody else.
Get
Yeah,
dressed up,
definitely. And look, yeah,
have
make
a
it fun.
cacao. Yeah, be whimsical.
Make it fun.
Yep.
I think for me, definitely pouring all my energy, my creative energy into other, yeah, like other aspects that have more longevity has nurtured a part of my soul that really needed nurturing. When I feel
Mm.
like I'm pouring everything into Instagram, that doesn't feel great. And then, it's like strategy as well. Like be smart about it. The truth is that not everybody does see everything on Instagram. People have very short attention spans over there. So the
Mhm.
reality is you don't have people's attention for very long. Great. Go somewhere
Mhm.
else where you can, where they're going to listen to an hour-long podcast episode or a 20-minute YouTube video, or they're gonna sit and read your essay and get into the comments section. Like,
Mhm.
brilliant. Go and pour your creative gift somewhere else, and then if the overflow happens to come onto social media, fantastic.
Mhm. Yeah.
We have one
Mm.
question left.
Yeah. Is
This
that
one's from
from
Fiona.
Fiona?
Yeah,
Yeah.
do you wanna read this one out?
Yes, I would love to. Thank you. Thanks for sending in a question, Fiona. She asks, too many ideas that are spread all over the place and don't get put out there because then I'm busy again as a reason why she's not showing up or feeling afraid to be seen.
Now, I witnessed Lauren reading out a list of ideas that she had at Hampstead Heath in London a few years ago. I think it maybe took about 5 to 10 minutes probably to hear this list of ambitions that this woman had for her life. So I'm gonna let you answer this, or at least begin to answer this one.
I forgot about that. Yes, I am someone that was well, and funny tying that back to the chat you had with Vienda, because it was through a course of hers where she was like, write down all of your deepest desires. And then that was question one. And I was just there for like 20 minutes. And I was like, what else are we supposed to be doing? And I've definitely realized that maybe that's a superpower of mine is having many ideas of what I should be doing.
Mhm.
And it can feel quite overwhelming, and I would say that's when I lean into my cycle most
Mm.
because my brain, I would say 80% of the time is very that inner spring energy, when you're like coming out and like estrogen hits and then your brain's like, bah, here's everything I've ever wanted to do. And you're just like, what path am I following? What thread am I grabbing? And I'm definitely quite the introvert, I would say. I resonate deeply with the hermit card,
Mhm.
the tarot. I'm just like, I often say I would love to like go into the woods and just lie face down in the moss for, hours on end. And so that second half of the cycle, that luteal phase, that winter, that's where I feel most powerful, I would say. Really leading into like that metal element of autumn and really visioning like almost like a sword of just being like, okay, what do I actually have time for? Protecting my energy and tapping into that crone as well of like when I'm bleeding,
Mm.
when I am like, I have nothing left to give. What's actually exciting me? And I think it was you probably in the training who was like, can you bleed on it? Can you bleed on this
Mhm.
decision? And yes, maybe a new project that feels shiny and new doesn't feel like a decision that you need to bleed on,
Mm.
but it probably is. And it's just like, I think when you're starting your business, there can be so many shiny things. I know I did the fertility awareness training. Do I want to teach that? No, but I did it because I was like, I need to add to my arsenal. And then it's just like, okay, what are we doing? like, so I appreciate the shininess. I even debated doing like that like nutrition course that I know so many people have done about like
Mm.
eating with your hormones. And I'm just like, oh, maybe I should add that. And then it's just like, stop, 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 stop. Finding that voice, finding where in your cycle you feel most yourself and that can be unique to
Mm.
you. So like I said, for me, it's in that like premenstruum like phase where I'm connecting with my enchantress that I feel most myself and most clear on what I want to protect and what I want to
Mm.
teach. I think because that matriarchal revolution is like that core that core pillar of fire in everything that I do, that's what I want to create in my business. And so I can carve everything else out that's not
Mm.
meant for me. And so yeah, I would suggest if you are feeling a bit all over the place. And like I said, I have a million ideas for myself that I do want to do in my lifetime. And just realizing what you have capacity for, what season you're in right now. Like, of course, I would love to publish a book. Am I going to have the time right now? Maybe not. And that's okay. I know it's going to happen. I can confidently put it to the side and know that it'll be ready to pick back up when the time is there. Um, I feel like that was a big answer, but
Mm.
yeah, it's so layered and nuanced, and I definitely feel for Fiona because I I am her. She is me. These are all my questions. Yeah, I would love
Yeah,
to hear
I
from you
love.
too because I just feel like, yeah, you have such a clear business now, but what was it like when you were starting before
Mm.
this world even really existed?
Yeah. I definitely resonate with the idea of having a lot of ideas. I think it comes in seasons for me. I'm definitely in one right now where I have a lot of ideas, like a lot.
Mm,
And um that comes in waves because then I have seasons where I have none. And it's
mm,
like I'm in this winter void phase where there's like, well, very much a void phase. Like, I have no ideas. Do I have any creative ambition anymore? Where have they all gone? And then, and then it will come again.
mm,
So I think there's something, yeah, very true, like you say, about being in, the season that you're in. I also think that I know for myself, I'm really good with beginnings and I'm really good with starting projects. Like that
mm,
feels very easy for me, very natural. So that kind of winter to spring, no problems. I have no issues initiating something and getting it off the ground. I know not everyone has that strength, but that is one I have. Where I struggle is finishing things and bringing them to completion and staying with it, like
mm,
staying with the editing process in an essay, refining a course and not starting a brand new one, and so that has been the season that I've had to really flex my creative muscles is
mm,
getting better at endings. Ending the training, like closing something, closing a coaching container. These are all like more edgy for me. So I do wonder if Fiona might have a similar like, she's very good at idea generation. There's a lot of things there that are gestating, but there's obviously some challenge here around, yeah, decision making, like you said, Lauren. I think that's
Mm,
a really good one to bring in that bleed on it practice, which is, the lineage for that is, to Red School for naming that practice of, like, going into menstruation with an intention to get clarity on something, and that's a really good practice to do. Um, and then coming out of your bleed with, ideally a bit more clarity on where you're going to focus your attention for the next cycle and really working with your menstrual cycle here. So using that
mm,
spring phase to begin to move forward on some stuff, knowing that you're not going to action everything. So being really discerning and choosing what you will be pouring your energy and attention to in that
mhm,
cycle. I would also offer the question of what are you avoiding by constantly generating new ideas and staying in that winter spring phase? Because that is by its nature quite a like internal time. It is
mm,
really about gestating ideas, naming them, writing them down, brainstorming,
mm,
researching. That's all really fun, but it doesn't actually involve anyone seeing what you have been up to and having to get
mhm,
any kind of feedback on it. So what is it that you're avoiding by not moving into the summer
mm,
of that project and actually
mm,
bringing it to life? And so then what would it look like to choose just one of your ideas, just like pick one and to then commit to it either for just one full season, like
mm,
spring as in the year, so a few months, or maybe even 6 months. And so especially as we're here at the solstice right now, for anyone who has loads of ideas, things that they going, God, it's mid-year and there's all these ideas I had at the beginning of the year that I haven't yet
mm,
executed or taken action on, could you just pick one? Like
mm,
literally just bleed on it, pick one, circle it, and then what would it be like to experiment with committing to seeing that through its summer and bringing it to
mm.
life just as an experiment to see like what comes up for you, even what feels edgy about that, what might you be avoiding by not giving yourself over to the full creative process.
Yeah,
Yeah,
even marking it to be like, "Hey, from this solstice to the next, like 6 months,
love that.
what does that feel like?"
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
also yeah, just feeling that solstice energy around the theme of being seen, that theme of, like, ceremony almost, so it's like maybe for the summer solstice folks, it could be, what are we stepping into? What do we wanna step into the light about? Like, is there a new identity that we want to, like, announce? Is there, like, something we need to celebrate? And, even having a party. I think we have parties for
Mm.
everything, for weddings, for babies, and for birthdays. It's like, is there something that you wanna celebrate about your business and about this scary new chapter you're starting? Because I would bet your friends wanna celebrate you.
Oh,
And
yeah.
and
Mhm.
then maybe on the winter side, is there a part of yourself that you're ready to let go of, to bury?
Mhm.
Like, is there a story that you're telling yourself over and over again that you're ready to, lay to rest? There might be, yeah, a bit of a shedding ceremony, and I think there could be fire involved in both, whether it's a celebration or a release,
Mhm.
but really using this midpoint as a point of change and a point of celebration, that you're worthy of
Yeah.
being seen as you are.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah, you are, absolutely. We need your magic, we need your message, your voice, like,
Mm,
the calling that you have on your heart to share your gifts is so real and it's important, and, we're not here for long in this life, so embrace the cringe. Take a take a look at your, where you might be tying some of your output to worthiness. Have like a think about the identity that you're moving into. Where are some of your fears of rejection or being judged showing up in the ways, like what's underneath, what's blocking you from getting out there and getting your voice heard, because it's normal. It's totally
mhm,
normal. I want you to know that whatever is stopping you is totally human. We get it.
mm. And don't go it alone.
Don't go to learn.
To find a
Yeah.
friend makes it so much
Yeah.
easier.
This has
Mm.
been really fun
Yeah.
recording with you, Lauren. I'm so glad that we were able to do this for the solstice.
Mhm.
Um, I'm wishing everyone a very merry solstice, winter or summer. We are enrolling, like I said, until the end of June. For anyone who wants to be certified by the end of 26, enrollments will stay open after that. But if you want to be certified by the end of this year and, be able to go out into your work with more depth and credibility and feeling confident that you've got the backing of our school, then you've got until the end of June to enroll. There's so much
Mm.
exciting stuff coming up at the school in the next 6 months. Like I said, I've got ideas everywhere, but um, yeah, we've got quarterly office hours that we're kickstarting soon, which is going to be for self-study trainees and also alumni, which is really exciting. We've just
Mm.
finished one lot of practice coaching calls, but we'll be doing more in the autumn, Northern Hemisphere autumn, and a few other little things that I won't share just yet because they're very much still in the tender early spring stage.
Yeah, so maybe that's
Mm.
the idea you want to circle, the solstice that you want to commit the next 6
Mhm.
months to. Maybe you want to be a cycle coach by the new year. Who
Maybe.
knows? Could be magical.
Cool.
Brilliant.
Thank you for listening, everybody. We'd love to hear your feedback on this episode, and if you enjoyed it, please share it with a friend. Yeah, and come and continue the conversation with us over on social media.
Great opportunity to
Bye.
be social. Bye. Thanks for listening to this episode of The Cycle Coach Show. If you loved what you heard, then please review, share, and subscribe to help us reach more cyclical listeners like you. You can find us on Instagram at Cycle Coach School or online at cyclecoachtraining.com.